Chapter 4, When the Wind Speaks His Name. The next morning the Chicago wind returned with its familiar sharpness, sweeping through the streets as if determined to remind the city who shaped its shores. I stood near Lake Michigan, watching the waves crash hard against the concrete embankment. The sky stretched wide above me, gray but expectant, and the air tasted like change. I opened my Bible, letting the pages settle naturally, and my eyes rested on Isaiah chapter 40 verse 29, which says that the Lord gives power to the faint and to those with no might he increases strength. It felt like the verse rose off the page and wrapped itself around my shoulders, as though God himself was telling me to breathe deeper. The lake wind pushed against me, but instead of resisting it, I let it move through me. And in that moment I realized that even the wind can preach when your heart is listening. Ahead of me, a small group of early morning fishermen stood near the edge, casting their lines with practiced motions. Their conversations were light at first, but gradually I heard frustration growing among them. Their lines tangled, their bait scattered, and the cold bit at their fingers. One of the men kicked the tackle box with a muttered curse, stepping back with a look that carried more weariness than anger. I approached slowly and simply said, "Peace, brothers. This morning might not be fighting against you. It might be calling you to something quieter." They looked at me, not with suspicion, but with the kind of curiosity that appears when someone's words reach deeper than expected. I did not quote scripture at them directly, but the Spirit of Jesus' words from Matthew chapter 4 verse 19 moved through me gently, calling them to stillness rather than struggle. And as the wind shifted, their frustration eased, replaced by a silent understanding that the morning offered more than fish. As I walked further along the shoreline, I noticed a young man sitting alone with his hood up, staring at the water like he was searching for answers hidden beneath the waves. His posture held a heaviness, a quiet despair that made the air around him feel weighted. I approached without intrusion, taking a seat a few steps away. For a long moment we said nothing. The only sound was the water hitting the breakwall and the wind trying to carry the city's burdens eastward. Finally he whispered, "I don't know how to keep going." His voice cracked under the weight of those words. I felt compassion rise in me like a calling, and gently I spoke the truth from Psalm chapter 34 verse 18, reminding him that the Lord is near to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. He didn't look at me right away, but I saw his shoulders tremble as those words reached the place where his silence had been living. He finally asked, "Do you really think God sees me out here?" "Yes," I answered, "He sees you clearer than you see yourself." The wind carried those words between us, almost as if the city itself agreed. The young man wiped his eyes and stood slowly, not fully restored yet, but no longer sinking. Sometimes deliverance looks like a man finding the strength to rise again. Before he walked away, he said, "Thank you." I smiled and nodded, knowing it wasn't me he was thanking. It was the one who speaks through scripture, through compassion, and yes, even through the wind rolling off Lake Michigan. As the morning grew brighter, I continued walking until I reached a spot where the lake met the skyline. The buildings rose like giants, but instead of feeling small, I felt grounded. I prayed softly for Chicago, asking the Lord to keep pouring His mercy over the neighborhoods, the schools, the buses, the alleys, and the lakefront. I asked Him to break chains that people have carried for years and to lift burdens that have become too familiar. And I thanked Him that no matter how loud the world becomes, His voice of truth remains steady, faithful, and unmistakably present. Before leaving the lakefront, I turned back once more and watched the waves crash. And in that moment, the wind brushed against me again, not harsh this time, but gentle, like a whisper. It reminded me that God speaks in storms, in silence, and in the spaces where we least expect Him. And today, standing on the shore of Chicago, I heard Him clearly, "Keep walking. I am with you."